Hi everyone, I'm Scott England. Thanks for tuning in, and we are here with the great Mac Wiseman. Welcome, Mac.
Thank you, sir, very much, Scott. I'm glad to see you and appreciate you coming by and let me visit with you a little bit.
Thanks for letting us drop in your home. Beautiful home, filled with memorabilia of
thank
your
you.
career.
Yeah, it's kind of a museum, so to speak.
Oh, it's beautiful too.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about this book, and I love the title of the book. Tell them what the title is.
All my memories fit to print.
All my memories fit to print, and today we're going to talk about some of the memories that weren't fit to print.
Oh, no.
Were there things that you couldn't print?
Well, yeah, I mean, borderline or something, no real vulgar things or nothing, but had some wonderful times traveling with the package shows back, because I toured with people like Tubb and Lefty Frizzell and Bob Wills and those package shows, before they tagged me as Bluegrass, and then they stopped playing my records. But not too long ago, a couple of years ago, I was surprised, but Woody Herman, the big band leader, called and wanted me to do a record with him, which I did. We did the old Gene Austin, My Blue Heaven.
Wow.
And
you have had quite a career, and it's all in this great book. You've got so much great information, facts about your career and your life. Now, speaking of your life, how old are you today?
well, in about 2 months, I'll be 91.
91, and you've spent 70 years in the
a
business?
little more than 70, yeah. I got into it professionally in 1946. First recorded with Molly O'Day. I recorded 16 sides with Molly O'Day. I was working in her band at Knoxville, Tennessee, the Tennessee Barn Dance. And at that time, believe it or not, there were no studios in Nashville. We had to drive to Chicago to record those. Uncle Art Satherley produced them. And that was my first entry into the big time, so to speak,
Over the years, I know you've recorded over 800 songs?
Right. And he got a couple hundred more I want to go if it holds up. I've got it. What I'm working on now is the old vintage songs that, from a preservation angle, so to speak, so that the younger people coming by, we learned them off of the radio when there was so much live radio. But that's not true anymore. A lot of these old songs that I want to do have never been recorded.
A lot of the songs, as you mentioned, of the 800, are songs that you have really saved.
Oh, yeah. My mom was a great supporter of mine, and she'd sit by the radio in the wintertime. In the summertime, we had to work with the crops. We had to do the canning and the planting and such as that. But in the wintertime, it was too cold to work outside. She'd sit in front of the radio, crocheting or quilting or something like that, have a little pad on the radio, and the live shows would come on, and she'd get a verse or two or a few lines, put the pad up, and a few days later they'd come back sing the same song. She gets the phone. I've got 13 composition books in her handwriting, which is very legible.
Wow.
Of those old songs she wrote down for me.
Those have to be treasures to you personally.
Oh, I would take any price in the world. The cover on that wrinkle thing was a cover off of one of those composition books.
Wow. Back in my radio days, when people would call up, they would sometimes know the name of a song, and if it was a really old, obscure song, they'd know the name, but they didn't know the artist. I would always go to the Mac Wiseman library because Mac always did that, and I could always find a version of that song that somebody wanted.
I'll be darned. I'm very flattered. But I've done that all through the years. I never tried to pattern after anybody else and just do my own thing. And I've done a great variety of songs, a few rock. I had a big record on One Man Julep and Hear You Knockin'. And then I went down to Dallas and cut 26 sides with the old Bob Wills band, Western Swing, and it came off great. And went out to Albuquerque. We cut 20-some sides of the Clayton McMitchen era. Merle Travis, Joe Maphis, and Fiddlin' Red Herring and myself.
Now you were there when Flatt and Scruggs formed their group, and you were part of it.
Yeah, they called me. I'd been on Bristol the year before, and the winters are pretty tough up there in the mountains, so I had disbanded, went back to Virginia and worked in the produce business to have a little income during the winter, you know. And I'd already turned my notice in, and I walked into the studio one noon when we was going to do the program, and this young man sitting over in the corner came over and introduced himself as Earl Scruggs. He wanted a job with me. He and Chubby were going to quit, you know, so I had to level with him. But along in the spring then, he called me in Virginia and asked me to join them as a charter member of the Foggy Mountain Boys, you know.
And then you joined up with Bill Monroe.
Yeah. Went to Atlanta on the WSB bar dance in between the Flatt and Scruggs venture, and right on the air in Bristol, Monroe came in and played the theater. It was customary back then, if you had local dates as all percentage, you go on the local radio program to advertise your show, see. Well, he came on the Flatt and Scruggs and Foggy Mountain Boys show, and right on the air he said to me, he said, "If you ever want a job, just call me." So when the barn dance closed in Atlanta, I asked him if our offer was still open. He said, "Meet me in Huntsville, Alabama, Friday night."
Wow.
So that's how that came about.
Now you mentioned you were really as country as Ernest Tubb and all the ones when they were starting out, but then when the Bluegrass Festival craze hit,
Yeah.
you kind of got, they moved you into the Bluegrass category. You might have had to take a cut and pay then, didn't you?
Well, not really, but I got a lot less airplay because the top 40 stations, I don't think was any prejudice or malicious thought about it, but they thought that bluegrass was the old-time corny mountain music, and they thought that it all sounded like Monroe and Stanley Brothers, you know. I worked the country shows until they finally put me in the bluegrass category. And I worked all the folk festivals. The big folk festivals came along. I played Newport and Carnegie Hall and Philadelphia Folk Festival, and Mariposa, and all the Six Flags shows all over the country. And
One of the great things about that, you never changed over the years, but it seemed like people's love for the music changed, and you kept riding the different waves.
yeah, that's one thing that I've really stuck to. King Records was very big in 1947, and I knew the difference between being successful and just being a tag along was the record things, be playing while you're sleeping, you know. Well, Sid Nathan of King offered me a job, a contract on King Records, but he wanted me to sing like Monroe. He had Hawkshaw singing like Tubb and different ones like that, and Isco Hankins singing like Roy Acuff, but I turned it down. I told him no, I couldn't be myself, and that was a big decision because that's what I needed, but not under those circumstances.
Sure. In 2014, you were inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you got that call?
Well, I was absolutely speechless and flabbergasted because I'd been in the top 5 a number of years but hadn't made it, and I had just kind of given up and reconciled myself that it wasn't going to happen in my lifetime, you know. But when the lady from CMA called and told me I was nominated, had made the cut, why, I was speechless for a short while, really was.
Now,
It's a big company organization, that thing is.
and you were really one that helped form the CMA.
Right. I'm the only living member of the original board of directors of the CMA, the Country Music. I was the first secretary-treasurer
Wow.
back in 1957.
How has it changed since then?
Oh, God. Well, give you some idea, we had 100 secret voters on when we started the Hall of Fame, and now they got 300. So that's quite a change there, you see. Plus the fact so many of them are younger, and they don't know the track record of the old folks. It bothers me very much that people like Vince and Garth and those people need to be in, but should wait their turn and take in some of the older ones. But there'll be a lot of them will be passed over rather, and never make it because it's such a vintage thing.
Sure.
You see. Yeah.
Mac, let's get back to your book, All My Memories Fit to Print. How long did it take you to actually write the book?
Well, Walt Trott co-wrote it with me, and we worked on it about 2 years. And Walt would come over with his computer, and we'd sit and talk, and he'd take it home, type it up, and bring it back, and I'd read it and proof it and decide what we needed or deleted or whatever, you know. But we took our time with it because we wanted it to be accurate. We wanted it to be complete, and it is. It's 340 pages or 42 pages and 214 pictures, and Charlie Daniels wrote the foreword in it, and just tell about a lot of the early days, you know, traveling with Uncle Dave Macon and Bob Wills and people like that.
It's your life, it's your history, but it's a great history of country music too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was very much enthralled with that. And that's the reason I did such a variety of songs, whatever I thought was happening at the time, but I always did them my way, so to speak. I didn't try to copy the guy who had the hit version of it or anything.
Why did you wait till you were almost 90 to write your life story?
Well, I'd been toying with it for 4 or 5 years, and I could get a little bit of it, but I am not an author, so to speak, and I couldn't get it to come together. And so finally I ran into Walt Trott, whom I had done a number of things with when I was Secretary-Treasurer down at the Union. He ran the newspaper there. And we made a little deal, and he would come out here and type it up, and like I said a while ago, we'd proofread it and put it down like it was.
Now, one of the things, you've done everything there is to do in country music and bluegrass music, but were you ever a member of the Opry?
I was on it as a guest so much that people thought I was, but they offered me a job a couple of times. One time I was running the Jamboree in Wheeling, West Virginia, and Art Devine was running the Opry, and he offered me a membership, but I couldn't turn down the thing I had in Wheeling. I had a pretty good bankrolling thing up there, you know. I had 50% of everything, including the popcorn. So I was up there about 6 years.
Hard to beat that deal.
You dang tootin', yeah.
Now, Mac, when you were a child, you had polio, correct?
Yep, sure did. I don't remember it being any other way. I had it when I was 6 or 8 months old.
How did that affect you?
Well, I was incapable of doing things that before I had some corrective surgeries on it. It was the ankle more or less, and the leg didn't develop as quickly as the other one did. And the ankle was weak. I wore my shoe out on my side instead of the sole. Going every step it would flop over, you see. So, but I did a lot of farm work and things of that nature during that time coming up. But you had to. It was Depression time, and we had to support ourselves, you know. But then after I had this corrective surgeries when I was about 13, they let me reach my approximate maturity and growth period, and had 2 surgeries done on it when I was in between the 6th and 7th grade. And Easter of would have been 38. I was able to walk down the path at my home with my foot setting flat. I'll never forget what a thrill that was, because first time in my whole life that I've been able to set that foot down flat. The ankle was stiff by this time where they'd blocked it up, but then I had enough self-confidence that I wanted to be in the music thing. See, I started doing amateur shows and things like that, pie suppers and lawn parties. They'd feed us, and that's about what we got for picking.
Now, you were a big part of our Country Family Reunion TV shows. You were there at the very beginning.
I was on the very first one, and a lot of at the first, yes.
And then you helped really run the show for our Bluegrass Family Reunion.
Yeah, Larry called me, and he wanted to do one on Bluegrass, but he said, I don't have a knowledge of Bluegrass. And so he gave me carte blanche as far as selecting the people, and because he didn't know who I was going on it. And then I emceed the thing, and he's run it several times. Yeah.
And you were really responsible for getting some history on video, people who made their last appearance ever on that show.
Exactly, yeah. Jeanette Carter, for instance, and Pop Lewis of the Lewis family, Jimmy Shoemate, who was of the original Foggy Mountain Boys group, and Patsy Stoneman, and just I can't think of the fiddle player's name out of Charlotte, but it was the last appearance he made. See, so that's what I selected or tried to select, and he gave me a pretty good budget to work with, so they never had that kind of money to come in, but they were flattered to be on it, and it is history. It really is a historical thing,
What is it like for you personally when you take part in the family reunion shows?
Well, I visualize the audience that we're getting to, and while you work basically to the few people that are there, but just like doing the Opry, something like that, that's a very minute audience that you have there live, even though it's 3,000 or 4,000 people, but you got a lot more listening. So I wanted to entertain the people there live, but also I work primarily to the listening audience. And that's the way I do on, enter into the conversation,
And then you've been on Larry's Country Diner as well.
Yeah, been on there several times, yeah.
With Nadine?
Yeah.
Did you survive that okay?
Yeah, I did. And when they had my 90th birthday party out at the Troubadour Theater, they had Nadine come in. I didn't know she was going to be on this show, but she tore them up, boy.
And Keith was there, part of the show as well, for your 90th birthday.
Yeah.
That was a special day for everybody.
Oh, it really was. It was for me,
Mac, 90 years old, how do you keep the attitude that you have? When I say to people, I'm going to go see Mac Wiseman today, their face lights up because your face lights up when you meet people.
Well, I do. I love what I'm doing, and I say my prayers every night thanking God that He enabled me to do something, to make a living, doing something that I thought was a preservation kind of a thing for the future generations as well as the young people coming up today, and I do more business from this lift chair than a lot of people do in their office. Have a lot of visitors come in. Charlie Pride and Mel Tillis were out not long ago, and Ramona just a short time before she passed away, and we have some pick and cheer and 14, 15 people in. And my Janie makes a pot of chili that you make you slap your mama for. Cornbread.
Well, you've had quite a life. You're still living that great life, and we thank you.
I'm not very mobile because of the polio leg, but my mind is still good. I'm not bedfast, so I'm a very fortunate man.
Still have some more songs to record.
Oh, got about 200 more on the drawing board. Sure have. Old songs that I'm just doing them again, like I say, from a preservation standpoint, because a lot of them never been recorded before. They were learned off of live radio shows.
And now this book, it's a great book, but what would you say if I told you this ought to be made into a movie?
Well, I'd say that's a pretty good idea. As a matter of fact, I've got some folks working on a script for that right now.
That's what I heard. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm blown away with that. And they're serious. They're offering me some pretty good front money, and they're going to try to make it based on the book here, you know. I'll probably be a consultant on it, and going to have to get some people to play my part.
Have you got anybody in mind that would play you?
Well, just thrown out for thoughts. They had talked about Tim McGraw. I don't think they've approached him yet or not. I don't know whether he'd be interested or not.
We'll have to see if he can sing some of those Mac Wiseman songs.
Well, Vince Gill I know could. Vince was on the CD that I did for Wrinkle Records. Did Sweet to Be Remembered, and had the Isaacs on it as well.
And Sweet to Be Remembered, that's kind of your theme song, isn't it?
It really was, yeah. When working in Knoxville in 46 with Molly O'Day, a neighbor lady, gave me the sheet music to that. And I learned it and thought it was an ideal song for a theme song. And when it was the first thing we recorded in Shreveport in 1951 for Dot Records. At my insistence, because of the change of tempo, Randy Wood didn't much want to record it because he's talking about the jukebox trade, you see. At that time, there were 75,000 jukeboxes. You could have a hit just on jukeboxes alone. I stubbed up as much as I wanted on record, told him, well, if we couldn't put that out first, forget it. So he, well, go ahead. And sure enough, it was a hit, you know.
Can you give us one or two lines of that?
Well, the verse part goes that Pat Boone didn't do. He couldn't sing the verses, so he just did the chorus real slow. But the verses go, as I travel over this world, just to suit my traveling mind, tender messages I get from a dear one left behind. They were filled with sweetest words that so touched me when I heard. Ne'er can I forget, these are some things that she'd say. 'Tis sweet to be remembered on a bright or gloomy day. That's enough.
The great Mac Wiseman. He will never be forgotten. I'll never forget this day, Mac. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure, Scott.
Buy his book, All My Memories Fit to Print, Mac Wiseman.